Hey guys, Dan Nikas here from Elite Brands. So today what I want to walk you through is a situation that a client came to us with back on the 11th of November 2025. So only 2 weeks ago. I'm recording this on the 25th of November. And it's a strategy that we had to deploy on Klaviyo for them. They came to us, they had a $50,000 debt that they needed to service within 48 hours. They'd already paid for all their stock. They just needed to have some cash in the bank, and they came to us with the hope that we could generate 50K in that period of time for them. Spoiler alert, in that 48 hours, we end up getting $232,000 for them in that. And I'm going to show you how you can set up the same strategy. I'm not talking about, being able to do the same amount of revenue. You might be able to do more, you might be doing less, you might do the same. Kind of not the point of what I want to go through. I just want to show you all the steps that we took in a very short period of time to make this work for this client. So it actually ended up being the highest amount of revenue that this brand had ever made in both regions. They operate in both Australia and New Zealand. And I'm going to show you the campaign schedule, the flow structure, how we segmented things, and exactly how we replaced what their business as usual was at this time and implemented it for this specific offer to maximize the conversions for them. So going through it, I'm going to show you the cadence of the campaigns, what flows we modified and adjusted, what segmentation we used, how we changed the pop-ups, and what we actually did was took what their Black Friday Cyber Monday offer was going to be, and we injected that into this 48-hour window in order to maximize conversions. So the first pillar of this strategy was high frequency, like a controlled cadence. So we sent quite a fair bit out, and I'll go through what we actually sent out during the 48-hour window. But it wasn't just like sending to absolutely everyone on the list. We didn't want to burn their email list. We didn't want their domain to be flagged as spam. We wanted to make sure that what we were sending through was still relevant to everyone, and we needed to, on every send, monitor the deliverability of it. So our open rates, our click rates, bounce, unsubscribe, and spam rates, just to make sure that we were getting to as many people as we could so that they could be converting. But we didn't want to just send it to absolutely everyone, and as I said, get their domain in a bit of strife. So for New Zealand, we did a live launch and then day 1 and day 2 reminder waves. So we got this on the 11th, got together as a team at Elite Brands, got all of our seniors together. So there's 5 of us in total, team of 15, but the 5 of us got together, really developed this strategy. And I'm just focusing on the Klaviyo component for this video. Now, you'll see here, we went live on with 6 sends. These are the 6 that went across. We don't do SMS in New Zealand for this brand. It doesn't get the return that we need. It's pretty cost prohibitive in New Zealand. It's not a Klaviyo issue. That's an issue with I think the telcos over there in New Zealand, how much they charge to push those SMSs out. So you can see here we went live at 10:03 a.m. In the morning on the 12th. We then sent a reminder at 12:30 and another one on the same day at 6 p.m. We did start with all profiles to see how much juice we could squeeze out of that. We've got 25% open rates and a 2.12 and a 1.27. So a little bit lower open rates than what we'd normally like to see. We've got to make sure we try and keep them above that industry standard of 33%. We then throttled the amount of sends down to the engaged subscribers in the last 90 days. And you can see that was in the evening of the 12th, still generating good revenue, good click-through. And we continued to do that the next day at 12, 4, and 8, creating urgency. We used countdown timers in them, told them the sale was ending in 48 hours. And we wanted to make sure that there was absolutely no doubt in these people's minds that this sale was on. It's the best sale we'd had all year, and it was ending at midnight on the 13th. So this is the strategy we used for the campaigns in there. Like I said, the open rates were pretty good. The order rates were good. We're still getting 5s, to 2s to 1s, and then another $5,000 at the end. Now, this was, you know, these numbers aren't astronomical. You've got to keep in mind that this brand, you know, its record day, which we set on the 12th, was a bit over $20,000 for the day. And then for the 13th, we did the same, bit over $20,000. So that was the best 2 days this brand had ever had, revenue-wise, gross revenue-wise, in an individual day. So again, like I said, if we follow this cadence, we did the same for Australia. And obviously, Australia is a much bigger market for us, and the brand had been established in Australia for a lot longer. So much deeper amount of subscriber data, you know, much bigger audiences. So we went on a very similar cadence. We went 8, 10, and then 12:30. We went 8, 12:30, and 6 p.m. with the emails. We also did a 10 a.m. SMS. Again, started with all consented profiles, then quickly reduced it down, and all consented profiles, and then reduced it down to the 120 days. First email generated a bit over $30,000. The SMS that morning generated 2.5. We did 12 and then 12 that evening. The next day we went with the same segments for 120 days engaged. We did 9 and 8, and then we opened it. We did an SMS again to finish, and we did another 4 on that SMS that went out. So, you know, really strong open rates once we restricted it out from the all consented profiles, still up in the 40s, and really good solid click rates as well. It's up to 2.2 on that first one that came through. So really good amounts of revenue coming in. The second pillar was the list growth and pre-purchase capture. So we wanted the traffic when they hit the website. We needed to make sure that the website was optimized for it. And what we did was we did specific pop-ups, not just one. We did it one for the homepage, one for a collection of bench and sink filters, one for portable filters, and one for replacement filters. Now, keeping in mind, they're in draft when I took this screenshot because the 48 hours is over. This is the amount of submissions that we had in that time on them. Now, industry standard, anywhere between 2 and 3% is average for conversions on these. So this is for people that came to these specific websites. There was 3 different discounts amounts depending on the product collection type. So we had 3 different pop-ups that, you know, articulated that. Each of the pop-ups had a countdown timer in it. You know, we didn't keep them generic. They were aligned with those 3 tiers of discount tiers from what was going to be our Black Friday Cyber Monday plan. And you can see the uptake on them was really good. 7.3, 4.7, 4.0, and 4.7. So if people needed to come in and just consider, you know, which of the products they wanted to get, because there is a bit of a range in this brand, they were opting in at a really high rate, and they were getting hit with all these email campaigns as well. So if they then viewed the portable filters, we would send them an email that had the matching offer for the portable filters. If they viewed the benchtop or sink filters, they'd receive the offer for that because the offer was slightly different. So that meant that every new subscriber, we were segmenting into that different, where their intent was, what they were looking at buying. And it allowed us to really make sure that the campaigns hit, and we gave, you know, the campaigns had the general breakdown of 3 tiers, but the flows had a different structure in them, and we set up different flow structures in there for, you know, what depending on what collection they were looking at or they opted into, and what discount offering there was. So one of the most important things that a lot of brands forget when they're doing this is the flows. And a lot of them either just turn them off totally because they don't want different discount amounts being used. So they don't want to say, well, we've got X amount off, and then they get a flow email which is different from the main offer. And so they're like, oh, what do we do? Just turn them off, and we'll just turn them off, and we'll turn them back on when it's finished. It's really not overly smart to do it that way. The better way to do it is to actually make some changes. So you replace all your business as usual, we'll call it flows, with what is the offer that you're pushing out through the campaigns and that you've got on the pop-ups on the website. It's a little bit of extra work, but you can see here again, New Zealand, it's not a huge amount, it's $1,000 here, but it was a 283% increase in that 48 hours. You can see the dates here, like this isn't just made up figures. So you got to make sure that the flows are showing the exact discount that you want them to show. Within that flow, it was broken down into, so the business as usual was set to draft. There was four different channels that were set up in here. One was if they opted in on the homepage, which showed them all of the discounts that were available. If they opted in for the other 3 collections, there was those 3 different collection flows. And it was only one email that went out during that time, for those flows, because it was only a 48-hour window. So we needed it to go out immediately so that they had it sitting in their inbox. So every automated touch point aligned with this strategy. So all of our abandoned checkout, abandoned browse, and abandoned cart all had it in there, all had countdown timers in it, saying you've only got 48 hours, and it was a dynamic countdown timer. It would come, a static countdown timer. It was counting down till midnight on the 13th. And we used a bit of scarcity in there, and there is some limited stock in there, so we let people know that there was limited stock levels as well. There's not an infinite amount of stock sitting in there. And it just made sure that we pulled the correct lever so that we hit the right person at the right time. And this is what we injected into the flows. Like I was discussing, we had the discounts of scarcity and the collection level offers everywhere. Abandoned carts, we had the 20, 24, and 28% discount. So they were the 3 tiers of discounts that I was referring to earlier. The abandoned checkout, we had the 48-hour scarcity. In the browser abandonment, we had collection offers, and in the filter reminders, we changed that up to the discounted pricing for the filters. This brand we have an evergreen flow where periodically post-purchase, over years, these flows are set up for, because the filters need to get replaced over time. They do last a long time, but what we did is we bypassed the reminders, and we just said that there is a price drop instead. So don't wait until you need it, get one now while the prices are the way they are. And we actually, the post-purchase and the product reminder flows, we actually just turned some of those off in total, because we didn't want, one, to be too much going out in post-purchase, because we had a lot of people buying, and there wasn't too much more that we could offer them in that 48-hour window that would have enticed them to come back anyhow. So just for that period of time, we turned those off. And anything that was like a re-engagement style flow, we turned off in that time as well, because at the beginning of the campaign send-outs, we went to everyone with what was the best offer that this brand could potentially push out there during that time. So what that did is it made sure that every flow in this entire ecosystem, both over Australia and New Zealand, was selling the offer, and it was no business as usual, no refill reminders, no mixed signals. It was really super clear what was going on. And in Australia, what that resulted in was, again, real numbers. We had a big lift. We did the 197,500 through here, and we did another 40 odd in New Zealand. 83,000 of that was attributed to Klaviyo, so 42.34. It was a rise of 199%. So what that really meant is nearly 80,000 came from campaigns. We had another 3,680 come from flows. It doesn't mean that the flows weren't effective. What it means is, with Klaviyo's last click attribution model, it means the last email they clicked on is the one that it get attributed with the sale. What that meant is that because we were sending out 6 campaigns in that time, the chances are the subscribers were getting the campaign as the last thing they clicked on before they purchased. But the flows definitely would have gone to those people as well and reinforced to them, hey, these offers are here. 7,000 from text messages, majority of it has come from email, but still an extra $7,000 from SMS is amazing result as well. So the message structure, the way that we sent that out was, we had the urgency, the offer, the proof, the links, and the scarcity. So the engagement during that time was excellent, like I mentioned. What else can I take you through on this? this was the overall, so the campaigns were the primary revenue driver, as they were in Australia, like I was saying, because of the last click attribution, but you know, nearly $42,000 in revenue in those 2 days in New Zealand, and 24,000 of that, or 57, nearly 58% of the total revenue was attributed to a Klaviyo effort, so 1,029% increase. Again, a lot through campaigns, no text messages like I explained before, a little bit through the flows, but again, they would have been receiving the flows. There's just more campaigns going out, so the chance of that being the last click for the attribution model is where it is. So why this strategy worked, we made sure that the cadence matched the buyer behavior. Segmentation protected deliverability. So we made sure that whilst we did send everyone to start with, and at the very end in Australia, in the middle, we did go back to those segments that were a balance between getting as much reach as we could and as much sales we could without damaging the domain. We made sure that we swapped out the business as usual flow email content for the new Black Friday, Cyber Monday offer we were pushing. The pop-ups match that buyer's intent. So what we mean by that is, where were they looking? Where were they actually browsing? If a product was a benchtop water filter, they saw a pop-up for the discount for that product. It wasn't just this blanket opt in now and we'll give you a discount. And there was a unified urgency narrative. So we had countdown timers on the website. We had a lot of messaging on the website as well. So we just made sure that everything worked as it should. So like I said, we end up setting a record for both New Zealand and Australia. They've actually, the top 4 days that the top 2 days for each region was the 12th and 13th. So, you know, it shows the power of Klaviyo. There were other strategies at play behind this, but what I've done is just isolated how you can make this work for email. And this, it really did create an amazing amount of sales. And, you know, it's really showed the power of not just the strategy for the 48 hours of what we implemented, but also the strategy behind how we've acquired those leads over the last few years that we've worked with this brand, how we've nurtured them, how in touch our team was with the different segments and where it would be. You know, we're pushing out, you know, 6 emails in a 48-hour period for each region, and the deliverability still remained exceptionally high, well above the industry standards, click rates above the industry standards. And whilst the messages didn't change too much in them, it still showed that we needed to get front of mind in those inboxes, so that we were at the top of the inbox when we needed to help this brand owner out and get as many sales as we could in that period of time. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop a comment below, and I'll get back to you and answer it as best I can. Talk to you later.